know what a developed and a developing country is and how they're different? Well, let me tell you.
Put your head on my shoulder.
According to IGI Global, a developed country are countries with high industrial, high human development, high levels of economic growth and security compared to other countries. Developed countries are technically and technologically advanced economies with a high Human Development Index or HDI, high per capita income as per World Bank classification, highly developed in their own industrial production, and has a high standard of living. Therefore, according to the UN, developing countries are countries with a relatively low standard of living, undeveloped industrial base, and a moderate to low Human Development Index or HDI. This index is a comparative measure of poverty, literacy, education, life expectancy, and other factors for countries worldwide. If we want to identify whether a country is developed or is still developing, it involves considering its economic, political, historical, geographical factors, and social parameters that ensure the power of a country. A country with a high gross domestic product per capita or include in its economic criteria of industrialization can be described as a developed country. However, a country needs to have high Human Development Index as well that covers literacy rates, women empowerment, falling mortality rates, and good governance, among others, if want to be considered a developed country. At least for me, because these days, not all countries meet these criteria. And that basically covers the aspects which I'm going to be focusing on today. But first, let me use these two countries, one is a developed country and the other is a developing country, as an example so we can compare and contrast them both. Latvia is a developed country with a land area of 62,200 kilometers square and an official name called Latvijas Republika or Republic of Latvia that is located in the northern Europe and in the middle of three Baltic states. It lies along the shores of the Baltic Sea and the Gulf of Riga, and it is directly bordered by Estonia to the north, Russia to the east, Belarus to the southeast, Lithuania to the south, and the maritime border with Sweden. According to World Population Review, the fertility rate in Latvia is currently about 1.34 children born to each woman, which is lower than the replacement rate of 2.1. It is believed that this region is the most rapidly depopulating region of the world, with no population growth in Latvia since 1992. Based on the Worldometer elaboration of the latest United Nations data, Latvia's current population is 1,878,900 as of Wednesday, November 4, 2020. However, as seen in the graph right here, it isn't any better, as it was even predicted to have less than 1,200,000 people by 2100, with a growth rate of minus 1.08% and has dropped since 1990. Based on data in the official EU website, Latvians and Livs are the natives of Latvia. But there are many other ethnic groups living in Latvia, which Russian minority is the largest one. The massive migration from Russia and other Soviet socialist republics like Belarus, Ukraine, and etc. during the Soviet era substantially changed the ethnic composition of Latvia. The total number of Latvians decreased from 77% in 1935 to only 52% in 1989. Even during the last years before the collapse of the Soviet Union, there were large scales of immigration. Moreover, the people in Latvia mostly speaks their language, Latvian or Lettish, and embrace the religions of Christianity that includes Lutheran, Roman Catholic, Russian Orthodox, Baptist, Old Believers, Pentecostal, Adventist, and Judaism. Like in many other countries, the Latvians have been ruled by foreigners for centuries. these foreigners would treat them terribly and try to destroy their own culture. The Latvians experienced being ruled by the Germans, Swedes, and Poles, and their most brutal foreign rulers were the Russians. Fortunately, Latvia declared its independence on August 21, 1991, and the USSR recognized its sovereignty on September 6, and United Nations membership followed shortly thereafter. With that being said, according to everculture.com, in Latvia there's this traditional midsummer festival called Ligo Smetski that celebrates the summer solstice on June 23rd, and Yayi, or St. John's Day, on June 24th. In Ligo Smetski, there are many activities such as old customs that are believed to bring the aid of good spirits. During these folk dances and traditional ceremonies, many women wear the traditional Latvian costume that consists of a large, colorful pleated skirt worn with a white blouse and a short round hat. On the other hand, Vietnam, with the official name Cộng hòa xã hội chủ nghĩa Việt Nam, or Socialist Republic of Vietnam, is a developing country located in Southeast Asia with a total land area of 310,070 kilometers square. It is bordered with China in the north, Laos, Cambodia in the west, and East Sea in the east. As of November 4, 2020, based on the same Worldometer elaboration of the latest United Nations data, the population of Vietnam is 97,638,223. However, a similar case that happened in Latvia occurs in Vietnam as well, where in this country though, it is the population density that has always been a concern. The country's population density makes it one of the most densely populated countries in Southeast Asia and even in the world. As stated by PRB.org, during the 1990s, Vietnam experienced a sharp decrease in its population growth rate from nearly 2% at the beginning of the decade to 1.4 by 2000. The decrease in fertility has also been one of the most important demographic changes in recent years, with the total fertility rate, or TFR, decreased to 2.3 by 1999. This is nearly the level at which population growth could ultimately falls to zero. The fall is also very dramatic, that if it is compared to the TFR in 1979, which was nearly 5 children per woman. Moreover, according to Vietnam Drive, Vietnam has 54 ethnic groups, with its main ethnic group called Kin. Kin accounted over 86% of the Vietnamese population, with estimations over 83 million Kin people. The lowlands generally have been occupied by ethnic Vietnamese, while the highlands have been home to numerous smaller ethnic groups that differ culturally and linguistically from the Vietnamese. Like, for example, the Chinese who speaks Thai language, or the people from Indonesia and other regions in Southeast Asia who speaks Austronesian languages. Nonetheless, their official language is still Vietnamese, or also known as Tiếng Việt, but many people in Vietnam speak English too. Though they do not have an official religion in Vietnam, there are 6 major religions, including Buddhism, Catholicism, Protestant, Islam, and their indigenous religion called Caudism, Haoism, along with several folk religions, according to the iTour Vietnam website. Besides, many religious rituals from the ancient times are still practiced and have become a part of the Vietnamese daily lives. The 54 ethnic groups in Vietnam have also made the folk religions more diverse, and the beliefs that did originally came from Vietnam to be more suitable for Vietnamese tradition. For example, Catholicism came to Vietnam in the 16th century, but they were against it because of its ideology. It was not until the Civil War in Vietnam that created an advantage for Catholicism missionaries to build influence on the kings until it was allowed again, and even received support from the Nguyen King. In Vietnam, Vietnamese Tet is one of their important holidays. Tet holidays are the end day of the 12th lunar month and the first, second, and third day of the first lunar month. And just like in Latvia, Vietnam has a festival too, called the Hunking Festival, on the 10th of the 3rd lunar month, with many activities, fairs, and parades to celebrate the history of Vietnam. The festival is also to celebrate the death anniversary of the Hung Kings who founded Vietnam. As mentioned by Vietnam Tourism, the festival is held at a historical site of the Hung Kings Temple in Viet Tri City, where people who joined the festival wore brightly colored costumes and their traditional dress called ao dai. As described by Holidify, ao dai is a long slick tunic with a conventional looking snug collar and is buttoned down on the left side. And you know what's more? Motorcycles in Vietnam are so prolific that riders may be fined at that very moment if caught by the police without a safety helmet. Of course, Latvia and Vietnam are two different countries, especially when Latvia is located in Northern Europe while Vietnam is in Southeast Asia. They are two different countries located in two different continents, meaning of course they both have two different cultures, like their traditional clothing, the traditions and festivals they celebrate, the language they speak, their ethnic groups, and etc. etc. They also have a different political system. While Latvia's political system is unitary multi-party republic with one legislative house, and Vietnam's political system is socialist republic with one legislative house. Latvia's infrastructure is also considered to be more developed and modern than in Vietnam, as the country has one of the fastest telecommunications infrastructures in the world, providing companies with seamless connections with their customers. Moreover, they also differ in their economy and country's income. Latvia's GDP per capita is $27,700 established in 2017, while on the other hand, Vietnam's GDP per capita is $6,900 established in the same year. Latvia's agriculture and industries also focus more on grain, potatoes, processed foods, processed wood products, processed metals, textiles, railroad cars, synthetic fibers, and electronics, whereas Vietnam's agriculture produced more rice, sugarcane, cashews, soybeans, tea, and seafood with the natural resources they have. And industries like oil, tires, garments, cement, chemical fertilizers, steel, and etc. run in Vietnam. Furthermore, the main difference of both countries that we can identify is that Latvia is a developed country while Vietnam is a developing country. However, even so, Vietnam isn't as far behind as other developing countries. For example, Vietnam's GDP real growth rate, according to the World Factbook from the CIA, is 2.3% higher than in Latvia. In fact, as claimed by the World Bank in Vietnam and the UNDP in Vietnam, Vietnam is now considered to be a middle-income country. And compared to Latvia, Vietnam's literacy rate isn't as bad, with a rate of 95% in 2018 and had a 1.48 increase from 2009. Latvia, on the other hand, is in the high ranks with a literacy rate of 99.82% in the same year. Unfortunately, compared to other countries, Vietnam is still considered in the middle in terms of literacy and economy. But this isn't bad news at all. This is because Vietnam has developed rapidly over the past 30 years. It has transformed from one of the world's poorest nations into a middle-income country where between the year 2002 and 2018, its GDP per capita increased by 2.7 times and grew by an estimated 7% in 2019, reaching over $2,700 and more than 45 million people were lifted out of poverty. From periods of colonialism and decades of conflict in 1975 to war with the United States and economic revolution in 1986, transformed Vietnam into one of Southeast Asia's most dynamic and fastest growing economies, with aspirations to be a developed country by 2020. From a centrally planned to a socialist market economy, Vietnam's HCI is also the highest among other middle-income countries. The current economic situation in Vietnam is one remarkable development, and economic searchers also say that Vietnam will be on the top 50 fast-growing economies in the world till 2050 and can reach the 20th position in the global economic rankings. Aside from the differences Latvia and Vietnam has, both countries are said to be a safe country to visit. According to worldnomads.com, Latvia is a safe country to travel in whether you are traveling alone, with friends or families. As well as in Vietnam, based on a guide by lonelyplanet.com, Vietnam is an extremely safe country to travel in because the police there are extremely firm and there are rarely reports of danger like muggings, robberies, or assaults. Thus, both countries are safe to enjoy and the perfect destination for your next vacation. Not only that, both countries are also members of the United Nations, even though Vietnam did become part of the organization first. Do you know what the United Nations is? The United Nations, or also known as the UN, is an international organization founded in 1945 made up of 193 to 195 countries that has the same goal to maintain international peace and security, provide relations among nations, and promote better living standards and human rights, as said in their UN website. Latvia first joined the UN on the 17th of September 1991, whereas Vietnam joined on the 20th of September 1977 and have been active ever since.
Nevertheless, even with their differences, Latvia and Vietnam have their own special identity. Their magnificent must-visit tourist destination, their interesting history, as well as their unique culture and their defined nature
is what makes both countries beautiful in their own way. And you know what? I've put both Latvia and Vietnam on my vacation list. And I think you should too.